Just wanted to have a look at, I think we've spoken about long COVID before, but specifically there was an article I was reading about, looking at how COVID-19 affects the brain in the long term. And it's still sort of early days in terms of collating evidence and doing studies and trials or whatever of patients that have had it. And it's also hard to determine exactly what the causes are, because there could be a whole lot of other things that are causing it. Things like nerve pain, fatigue, brain fog. Some of these classic symptoms could be the result of something else that's going on, and it requires like a longer term look at over many years probably and many different types of people to determine the cause. But there was an interesting link that was made there that in autopsies that virus fragments or the virus wasn't necessarily found in brain tissue itself, but there was a lot of inflammation, and the suggestion being that although the virus itself didn't attack brain cells, the fact that it caused such a strong inflammatory response, which then that happened in the brain, that's potentially a cause for this kind of long-term COVID effect, like one of its symptoms.
That's right. Now, inflammatory response is actually your own immune system fighting COVID, and if that doesn't shut off, or if it extends to various organs, then you get these inflammation. And we know for a fact that inflammation causes a lot of the sort of diseases that we see quite normally. So, there's still a lot of work to be done around what the effects and what the longer term effects of COVID are. And that's one of the reasons we need to be mindful of the danger of it. So just because you're asymptomatic or not particularly badly affected, or you think you're young, it doesn't apply to you, well, it could. And if it does, the effects are serious. So once again, it's just another argument to get vaccinated as soon as possible.
The two things are just to pick up on there is that, the idea is that even people who've had only mild or minimal symptoms have experienced this sort of long COVID.
That's right.
This long COVID issue, again, like you said, to take it more seriously. But the other thing, just more broadly, is that it's quite an odd dynamic going on where, the virus doesn't seem to have this like a blanket similar impact for everyone. There are different impacts for different people. Someone who's totally asymptomatic, how do we know that they don't have some sort of impact 20 years down the track? Or someone who was uber sick when they first caught the virus, and then it's fine for them afterwards. They've completely responded, and then you've got examples of this long COVID thing. And I think, I guess given enough time, and I'm sure that there'll be plenty of people studying this for many years to come in terms of impacts and what causes what. But a lot of it's going to be really interesting to read if they can determine like the causes of some of these and why some people are affected in certain ways and some people are affected in other ways.
Well, yeah, and look, I think the reality here is that COVID's here to stay now, in one form or another form, and the effects will go on for years now, both in terms of the pandemic, but also in terms of our health. And we'll be learning more about this, and we'll be learning more how to live with COVID over the next few years. So even if in Australia we do reach a Freedom Day, even if we do reach a certain percentage of vaccinations, that doesn't mean that we'll be done with this. So I think that's something that everyone just needs to be really mindful of.